see. Okay. I wanted to do this because I get double chatter here. I need to do one, I think. Let's see. Mysterious drone sightings over Belgium reported. They're not drones, they're all drones. There have been UFOs for decades. It's because of NATO being there. And, let's see here. They call it drones. They call UFOs drones now. They're calling UAPs, UFO saucers. And it's all bullshit by the media and government or governments involved in covering UFOs up. So when they use drones, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own investigations. It could be UFOs. Because these sound like UFOs. We're going to get into this deep dive.
Now, a string of mysterious drone sightings across Europe continues. Police in Belgium are reporting drone sightings over a military air base on the weekend. According to Belgian Defense Minister's office, the government received reports last Saturday of drones flying over the air base in northeast Belgium. Authorities deployed a helicopter and police vehicles in pursuit, but the drones could not be captured and a drone jammer also failed to intercept them. Belgian minister says suspicions of drone spying over the air base remain, as one of the drones reportedly unusually long over the military facility which houses F-16 fighter jets. While the police are actively investigating and the country's ministers have taken stock of the situation, probe is also underway into multiple drone sightings over a military base in the country's southeast, as well as another in the Germany border last month. NATO countries have been on high alert in recent weeks after drone sightings and other air incursions, including at airports in Copenhagen, Munich, and Greece. Some 20 alleged Russian drones entered Polish airspace in September.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a drone. That doesn't. I want to get into, let's see, where is it? I want to get into these sons of bitches here.
The most awards
These guys.
Point, we get a pizza party, and then at the end of the year they get an even larger party.
These sons of bitches here, the enforcer. I hate these cunts because they lied about me, my father, classified stuff, and everything. What I know. These guys put out stuff like about saying that they're drones in certain areas, Ukraine or whatever, or NATO. These pieces of shit that lied about me, lie and say that these are drones. They're all drones. Some are UFOs. And stuff like that. And I hate these motherfuckers that lie about me. I call these cunts out all the time. And I go after everybody that lies about me. This stuff. So I mean, people can believe their shit, saying that they're drones or whatever. Don't believe all that. Because they're going to put out stuff and they don't believe that. They say that what happened with JFK, there was conspiracies and stuff like that. Conspiracy theory and everything, you know, the second or third, you know, gunman, Rassi Knoll. And all this proof comes out, you know, that he was shot by a second, third person. By Rassi Knoll stuff. So you pieces of shit out there that lie about me. You're looking at my fucking face right now. You're very fucking lucky. Anyways, let's get to this. Piece of shit. Let's see. We're gonna get to the history here about. Let's see. That's not. That's not it. Where's Belgian UFOs? Let's see. Let's go. That's USOs. I like to order this too, as well as Belgium. Here, I got this too collection. Let's see here. Got the news station on there. They ain't covered for some reason. I don't know why. Or YouTube isn't putting them on there. This is from the 80s and 90s. And stuff like that. So they're using recording from Unsolved Mysteries. It looks like that's 3 chapters. So they'll cut everything if I go in there.
Most of the classic UFO cases come from the United States.
Shout out
we are
to
used to
Finding
seeing
UFO.
witnesses come up against the brick wall of government secrecy in their search for explanations. The wave of sightings over Belgium in the late 80s and early 90s offers a striking contrast to this pattern. Government authorities cooperated with witnesses and civilian research groups to investigate the string of unusual phenomena, and in the end, an Air Force study concluded that craft of unknown origin were indeed violating Belgian airspace. This honest admission from the Belgian government effectively disproves the idea that public disclosure would incite mass panic, and the transparent operation of the Air Force study provides a useful precedent for the kind of government-backed UFO science that could operate in the US and elsewhere.
Shout out to them.
The Belgian UFO wave began in the summer of 1989 and picked up in the fall.
Here it is. I'd actually go here. I leave him a like. Check out his channel. Over 3,000 subscribers here. Give this guy a like.
Because most of the classic UFO cases come from the United States, we are used to seeing witnesses come up against the brick wall of government secrecy in their search for explanations.
I wouldn't say so much as it sounds for most of the countries in the United States. It's just we have the most cameras, we have the most people that can put out video of UFOs, talk about it more. In other countries, people don't have as many cameras and as much equipment to record this stuff. Poorer people as well. So not as much population either. We have a higher population than most countries except for China and India, etc. So
the wave of sightings over Belgium in the late 80s and early 90s offers a striking contrast to this pattern. Government authorities cooperated with witnesses and civilian research groups to investigate the string of unusual phenomena, and in the end, an Air Force study concluded that craft of unknown origin were indeed violating Belgian airspace. This honest admission from the Belgian government effectively disproves the idea that public disclosure would incite mass panic, and the transparent operation of the Air Force study provides a useful precedent for the kind of government-backed UFO science that could operate in the US and elsewhere. The Belgian UFO wave began in the summer of 1989 and picked up in the fall. Shortly after 5 p.m. on November 29th, 2 federal police officers driving down a highway in the municipality of Eupen, a few kilometers from the German border, pursued a flying lighted object in their cruiser. Officers Heinrich Nicole and Hubert von Montigny first noticed the object as it illuminated a nearby field. The object appeared to be triangular, about 30 meters long on all sides, with beams of light emanating downwards from all 3 corners, and a flashing red light in the center. it was perfectly silent. The object eventually turned towards Yupin, drifted over top of the city, then remained in place for approximately half an hour. It then moved over nearby Lake Gillette, where it hovered for roughly an hour. Nicole and von Montigny watched as the object emitted 2 beams of red light with glowing red balls at the ends of them. The beams slowed as they extended downwards, then eventually stopped, disappeared, and left the 2 red balls of light to float back up and rejoin the craft. This sequence of events repeated several times. Around 6:45, a second triangular object suddenly appeared from behind the trees of a nearby forest. Its foremost point was tilted to the ground, exposing a dome with lighted rectangular windows on the upper surface of the craft. The object immediately flew away towards the north, and the first craft moved off to the southwest some 40 minutes later. Guided by multiple civilian reports, the officers spotted the object again that night as it moved north from Yupin and over the village of Henri-Chapelle. 2 other officers also witnessed the object, which hovered around 75 meters off the ground, while emitting a hissing sound that dimmed the intensity of its lights. At this time, a red ball of light dropped from the center of the craft before turning off on a horizontal path and disappearing behind the nearby trees. The craft then drifted over the officer's cruiser and
he's got this from Unsolved Mysteries and stuff like that. So.
headed northwest. The Belgian air staff received a total of 143 sighting reports that night. At least 13 of the witnesses were police officers, who saw the same or different UFOs at 8 different locations around Yupin. Air Force officers reasoned that since only 1 in 10 UFO witnesses ever bothered to report their encounter, there were likely more than 1,500 sightings that night alone. The night of
Well,
November
they didn't have cameras and stuff back then either. They didn't have the state of society before we had internet and cell phones.
November 29th was the most intense period of activity, but more sightings occurred in the following weeks. There were 4 observations on December 1st, and 21 witnesses to similar triangular craft on December 11th. On this second night, a family watched one of these craft drift over top of their home. One of the children made drawings of the craft as seen from 3 different angles as it moved overhead. The changing profile of the object as it changed positions relative to the observer helps to account for some of the variety of objects in witnesses' reports. Shortly after the family's sightings, Lieutenant Colonel André Amand, a civil engineer in the Belgian army, spotted a UFO with his wife as they were driving through the countryside. Although it appeared at first as 3 lighted panels floating over top of a pulsating red light, after Amand stopped the car to get a better look, it
But all other news and all other media put out, oh, they're just drones. Bullshit. All these places are saying that there's drones happening. Don't believe on your research, as I need to do mine, about UFOs that are, going around NATO, Estonia, Latvia, etc. Let's see, what was Poland as well? Yeah, Poland happening there and stuff, and of course they're attracted to see what's happening. They're attracted to the military movement. They want to see what the monkeys are doing, what they're doing with their toys, and stuff like that. So
reappeared as a large, bright spotlight that approached the couple to within 100 meters. Before Amand climbed back into his seat, the craft turned away, and 3 other lights appeared on its underside, forming a triangle around a pulsating red light. The object then sped away at an alarming rate and disappeared in the night sky. At no point did either witness see a supporting mass behind the lights. On April 4th, 1990, a couple in the town of Petit Rachin managed to photograph a triangular craft hovering near their home. The now famous photo was sent for analysis at both the French National Space Research Center, CNES, and the Belgian Military Academy. Here it was discovered that a triangular shape was visible beneath the lights when the picture was overexposed, and a more recent analysis showed a halo of light surrounding the craft. one that shone in such a way as to indicate the presence of a magnetic field. Neither analysis found any evidence of tampering with the slide. There were 8 more reports of UFO activity on the night of April 22nd, one of which involved a huge trapezoidal platform measuring 60 to 90 meters in each direction. The 2 witnesses said that there were structures protruding from the underside of the craft, so that it looked like an upside-down aircraft carrier. A similar craft was observed in March the next year. On July 26, 1990, a couple driving through the municipality of Grasse Hollande saw a hovering triangular craft with lighted white strips along 2 of its edges. There were spotlights beaming down from each of the corners, and a red and a green light flashed in the middle. Mr. H, as he identified himself, flashed his headlights twice, just to see if the craft would respond. Immediately, the 2 white lights at the base of the triangle pointed towards their car, then flashed off and on again 3 times in a row. The object approached to within 100 meters of the couple, and followed them as they continued their drive, keeping a constant pace with the vehicle, and a consistent...
That usually only happens when they're doing an abduction. I just about bet they were abducted. I wonder if there's like missing time, because that's what happens when they follow you. It means they're about to abduct you. And stuff like that's not good. Not good at all.
Distance from the sloping ground. The couple grew increasingly uneasy until the object sped away in the direction of Grasse Hollande. Between 1989 and 1991, there were approximately 2,000 reports of UFO activity over Belgium. The sheer number of reports prompted the Air Force to take an active interest in determining the origin of the mysterious craft, as they believed was their duty to the public. Major General Wilfred de Bouet, Chief of Operations of the Air Staff of the Belgian Air Force, took charge of investigating the reports. He has spoken openly and confidently about the evidence he collected with the help of a civilian research group called SOBEPS. Of the 650 reports that the Air Force helped to investigate, 500 could not be explained. De Brouet's team concluded that there were air activities of unknown origin in the airspace of Belgium that could not be attributed to any known aircraft. The true identity of the visitors, however, remained unknown, as no military aircraft were able to establish visual contact with the elusive craft. However, one F-16 that was scrambled to respond to an anomalous radar return managed to record radar data of some extremely unusual maneuvers on the part of the target. De Brouet has since called for a more objective and better coordinated investigation. In 2007, he gave a talk to this effect at an international press conference organized by investigative journalist Leslie Kane and filmmaker James Fox, where many high-profile government and military officials lobbied for greater government accountability.
I'm about to go to their channel where it has what they have to say, and also he pisses me off when he's spamming stuff on my screen for other videos. Actually, I want to hear what the others have to say. In this, let me see here.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Wilfred de Brouwer. I'm a retired Major General of the Belgian Air Force, and I was Chief Operations in the Air Staff at the time that an exceptional UFO wave took place over Belgium. The nature of the sighting was such that people identify a large triangular platform with very intensive spotlights and also hovering, being static at a certain moment, being able to fly at very low speeds and then accelerating to very high speeds in seconds. In addition, these objects didn't make any noise. It was only a humming noise.
Were there ever any inquiries from the American government to the Belgian Air Force regarding unidentified flying objects?
Yes. Well, some informal inquiries, but nothing formal. I would have liked to see a formal request. But some people came to my office and asked about this phenomenon and also what we thought about it, and asked to have a copy of a video which was taken by one of the aircraft which tried to intercept one of these objects. And I said, yes, you can have a copy, providing there is a formal request. And we never received a formal request.
This is they tried to scramble F-16s. We just went over that. With these UFOs, they're going over airspace in Belgium right now, and Sudan, Poland, and other countries around there and stuff, is that they tried to, down them as well. And if these drones, they're going to be able to take them down. If they're not drones, they can be able to take them down. And they scramble F-35s, F-16s, they can't do anything. If it looks and quacks like a duck, that's like one. Probably is a duck. Or in this case, a UFO. Oh, it's here. Hey, Nick Pope!
In the autumn of 1989, thousands of everyday...
Yes, thank you. Oh, this is Belgian UFO wave. No, I don't like to make fun of it. This one has my eye. I saw cinema. That's the dot there in the middle. This is the thing. When I record UFOs and I see them, what you may see on the film may be different from what I've seen. Also, if I see UFOs, they can be up close to me. They're not that far away as well. And I think there could be some time differentiation. I have no idea. It depends. It'd be case by case basis. But I see, 3 dogs, one, and together I see UFOs do, like a ballet around each other, a dance around each other, and stuff like that. They'll go on their side and go like this, and move around and everything. But so what you see here might be different from what the person saw, is what I'm trying to say.
In 89, 90, we had a lot of observation from the ground, a lot of people seeing strange things in the air, and the Belgian Air Force already scrambled 2 times F-16 to observe what the people saw from the ground.
Wilfred de Brouwer, a colonel at the time, was officer in charge of operations.
Some people saw very strange objects in the air with a very peculiar behavior. They called the police. The police confirmed the observation. They called the radar station of Glon, and Glon confirmed that they saw a blip in the area. And that was also confirmed by another radar station, which is about 100 miles away. Based on that, they asked to send these 2 aircraft in the air.
Eyes on Cinema, shout out.
So that night we had a scramble with two F-16. I was one of the two pilots, so I was leading the pair for that mission. We had a lot of information coming from the ground, and those people could basically inform us about the exact position of the, I would say, the UFO.
Ground radar observed a blip which was moving very fast from an area south of Brussels towards the east.
Oh, thank you.
The aircraft were in the near vicinity and, of course, tried to detect that object. And the two aircraft confirmed that they had a lock-on which showed the speed of 700 knots, around 700 knots.
The F-16s had repeated locks onto the UFO, but as they closed in, it changed direction and speed with extraordinary maneuverability. The pilots had no doubt that the target was real.
We had a different radar contact on the target, so it happens at least 3-4 times.
So keep in mind, and I'm sorry about the audio, this is on their end actually, that's actually not mine. That's why I got this, the subtitles going. I'm half deaf or half deaf myself. So what this pilot is going through right here is a lot what the other pilots can go through right now with these drones, UFOs over Belgium, the NATO bases, etc. It has been it's happened in Ukraine as well. It's happened in Israel as well, where they've had, little dot-sized UFO there at Tel Aviv. I believe, Tel Aviv. And stuff like that. So when you go and try inspect one of these objects, this is what's been happening back then and today.
To acquire a radar lock-on with the F-16, and we knew that at least 1 or 2 times we had exactly the same contact as the one which was on the screen on the ground. It was accelerating very fast, so it was going from 50 knots to more than 1,000 knots. It was really climbing and descending very fast, and it was changing, heading abruptly. And most of the time it was even flying supersonic.
The Air Force never did make direct visual contact with the UFO. Exactly what the target was remained a mystery.
I don't think it could have been experimental aircraft. First of all, we always look to the United States. They could have been doing experiments here. I don't see why they should be doing it in Belgium in the first place. Secondly, they confirmed officially that it was not them. We had an official declaration of the ambassador here. And thirdly, the performance of this system was such that it could not be related even to an experimental technology.
It was not a prototype, and I don't really believe it was a meteorological phenomena at that moment.
There's not much left, and well, one could refer to an extraterrestrial observation or vehicle, if you want. And I think that's an option which, or an assumption which should not be excluded. I'm not saying that it was an extraterrestrial, but it is an assumption that should not be excluded.
One of the many witnesses at the time was Colonel André Armand, a civil engineering officer in the Belgian army. In December 1989, he was driving along this road at night when he saw 3 rectangular panels of light moving slowly across the sky.
I saw the yellow panels beyond the trees there, flying till the trees there, and the yellow panels change into a white light, and this white light was coming down to me. At this moment my wife told to me, André, come, we must go now. Because when you see such big light coming to you, that's very strange to see that, And my wife said to me, André, we are going away now. This light disappears, and I saw only 3 yellow, white, smaller lights, triangular. The center, the red light, pulsing, always pulsing. And this object was flying away very, very fast in this direction.
In the following months, there were many similar sightings of a strange triangle of lights, not only in the countryside, but also hovering over the rooftops in the centre of Brussels. Marcel Alfarano, a shopkeeper, managed to capture it on his camcorder.
Oh yeah, you see that light right there in the middle.
It happened at about 2:20
Let's have
in
the
the
power
morning
source.
on the night of
That's
the
like gravity thing.
31st of March. I took my camera and I went upstairs.
It's also a lot like how some of our re-engineered vehicles are. We have that powered anti-gravitational unit there, right in the middle.
It was at that moment that I saw in the distance 2 lights. They were bigger than car headlights, and they were slowly coming towards me. They were moving very slowly, high above the rooftops there. And as they got closer, I could see there was a 3rd light behind the other 2. They stopped over there. I realized it was not a plane. It was something bizarre, something unrecognizable. Later, some people from the government...
Just real quick, I've taken some video of UFOs and some others as well. Some of them don't notice when they go through the video that there's other objects. I can see that a lot of times, even if they don't, that there's other objects. I remember seeing 3 objects scram off in the sky going west to east. And days before there were 3 objects in the sky. I was able to get the camera to look out in space, and there was a couple other UFOs out there as well, around these things, moving out in space. So it's not the best footage. That's one reason why I don't have it on here and stuff, because I think the footage could be better. I'll show it to some people. But I just thought I'd mention that real quick. That's why I was looking at this.
And they say I should not get too carried away. They said I should say it was a plane I had filmed.
We saw a big object in the sky which we couldn't identify. It had very powerful lights which directed at the ground. In 1989 and 1990, there were numerous sightings of a UFO in Belgium by more than 2,000 civilians and numerous police patrols. It was a triangular object with 3 lights at the top and 1 in the center. It was flying silently at very low altitude, just above the ground. This photograph of the object, complete with thermographic analysis, is a filmed sequence.
I'll see the others around in this shot. This pixelated, you see that? That's beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous, love it.
Belgian military aviation authorities have officially joined a collaborative study of the case.
This thing, when I've gotten some UFOs out here, because it seems like sometimes they're attracted to me, and I just say, come on out, don't be shy, come on, you sexy beast. And sometimes they'll show that, stuff like that. So.
After ground radar revealed the presence of the object, some jet fighters were scrambled to intercept the UFO, but without success, because the object performed some incredible maneuvers, demonstrating it was in some way guided. Was it an experimental military aircraft, like the stealth bomber? The US government has denied this possibility. The stealth bomber is also noisy, and the question is, why would a foreign experimental...
Let's see. The Belgian Air Force is concerned to a point about the UFO issue and is taking action to investigate information they have. Bleak does admit, however, that he is not optimistic about resolving the problem. Bleak field comment, okay, the U.S. Air Force did not confirm to the Belgian Air Force and Belgian Ministry of Defense that no U.S. Air Force stealth aircraft. Our stealth aircraft, my dad worked on the F-117, and I know from some other stuff that wasn't way too classified that it could not do what those UFOs are doing whatsoever. Now, the re-engineered stuff we have could do that. But F-117 stealth aircraft cannot do that. B-2 cannot do that either, definitely. Let's see, operating in the Ardennes. Wow, World War II. Remember that, the Ardennes forest? Out the Bulge. A lot of history there.
plane fly at low altitude over a densely populated area.
Yeah.
Belgian Air Force General Charles de Bruer held a press conference on the 18th of December 1989 to confirm that they had intercepted UFOs. His written report states, "There were no signs of danger. The mystery of their origin remains, but the phenomena exists. It is real."
Initially, we thought that some of these observations were caused by atmospheric interference, such as weather conditions or electromagnetic interference. But later on, we found out that at certain moments, indeed, we could relate one visual observation with one observation on the radar. And of course, then we said, well, to have a confirmation, it may be very useful to have an additional observation from an aircraft. The night 30 and 31st March, we had an observation on the radar, and in addition, a visual observation on the ground confirmed by the police. We decided to send 2 airplanes in the air around midnight.
This video of the F-16's radar track of the object showed the performance of a vehicle of a total...
So let's see here. People that don't may not see that. This is the UFO right here. This is other stuff that they have right there, electronics. I believe that's the UFO right there.
Of the F-16's radar track of the object showed the performance...
This is, of course, the aircraft elevation, stuff like that, above sea level, below sea level, etc.
...of a vehicle of a totally unknown origin. The Air Force were at a complete loss to explain their findings. A press conference was called.
What these pilots detected was well outside the normal flying envelope of an airplane. Sometimes they had what we call lock-ons, which gave a parameters varying from speeds between 150 knots till 990 knots. An acceleration which occurred in a few seconds. These speeds would be impossible to tolerate for a human being. That's a first point. A second point is the visual observations always describe a system, a machine, which hangs and hovers above the surface at quite a low altitude without making any noise. Now, with the current technology, that will be impossible.
The radar tape from one of the F-16s was sent for detailed examination by experts at the Center for the Study of Electronic Warfare. The radar specialist who advised the investigating team there was Professor Emil Schweitzer, a distinguished physicist who teaches at the country's elite military academy. What did he make of the strange unidentified craft that the Belgian Air Force tried to intercept?
That UFO code could make right turns, which is impossible by our laws of mechanics, and that UFO code also change very suddenly the velocity, which is also impossible, but because it would give an infinite acceleration.
Is it possible that the Air Force's unseen UFO was nothing more than a technical aberration in the radar equipment?
I don't think that you can explain it by saying that all radars made the same mistake. That's highly unlikely. There are different types of radar, there are different types of antennas, and also the orientation of the target was different for the four radars. I'm going to be fired by my colleagues, but I think that extraterrestrial intelligence is very highly likely.
Got it right there. Yeah, blinked out. There. There it is. There it is. What the hell? Yeah. Blinked out. Good luck. Is that it again right there? There's trolling him. There's trolling him. Alright, let's see here. How did it get? Let's see. Oh, there I said it exists. I haven't seen this yet. It says that. Ross Coulthart!
G'day and welcome back to Reality Check. I'm your host, Ross Coulthart, and today it's my honour to...
Yes, it is. News Nation, Ross Coulthart. Sure, check him out and everything. So he does a lot of stuff on UFOs. That's what he calls it. UAPs, they're not. There's a difference between UFOs and UAPs. Stay with us.
Bring to Reality Check for the very first time the filmmaker who has probably done more than anyone else to elevate public awareness of the legitimacy of UFOs, UAPs as an authentic mystery worthy of intense investigation. Filmmaker James Fox is an English-born American filmmaker whose first UFO documentary was made nearly 30 years ago. He's done Out of the Blue, I Know What I Saw, The Phenomenon, Moment of Contact, and The Program. That's his most recent one. They are brilliant, credible, factually driven presentations that stand out because they dared to take the UAP subject seriously. Now, it's James's 2022 film, Moment of Contact, that brings him back here today. That film is James's investigation into the 1996 Virginia UAP incident, often called the Roswell of Brazil. Now, James has just finished updating that film with major new evidence. I'm very excited to bring this to you today. He has explosive new details that we are going to tell you about today for the very first time. I caught up with James at Contact in the Desert way back in May, and he whispered in my ear over a coffee about what he had in this film update. And boy, I've been waiting for months. He called me literally yesterday and said, I've got it, I'm ready to go. And I'm so excited that he's asked us to help lead out this film, because it's very exciting. James has obtained an exclusive interview with a neurosurgeon who says he quite literally touched and telepathically communicated with what he testifies on the record to James was a live alien being held in captivity by Brazilians and then apparently handed over to the US military. James, I'm very excited to bring you here.
I kept on saying that the US is in charge of most of this cover-up, and they are on a multiple basis. When the Berlin Wall fell and communism fell for a while, we were very concerned and scared of what secret files would contain and be outed for people to see about UFOs. On Russia, what they had on us, what they knew about us and UFO incidents here, because they knew about stuff here a bit. And the thing is, they have China. They have these ironclad. They're very, very cloud, you know. So what's left was America as pretty much on a global basis. If it isn't Russia or China, it's the US keeping stuff secret. And we go into other countries, we cover craft, and we help keep people shut up. And threaten them as maybe or whatever else. So.
In a reality check, welcome, sir. Maybe we could start off by giving us a bit of a summary of what the Virginia case was all about.
Thank you so much for having me on, Ross. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if that was deserved intro, but I appreciate it very much. So thank you. Well, let's see how far back I can go here. I was making my second UFO film in the late 90s out of the blue with a partner. It was probably circa 1999. And I'll remind your audience, I was making my second documentary on UFOs. And we were mapping out the film. And we were going to cover Bentwaters and the Phoenix Lights and various other cases around the world. And my partner at the time was a former BBC correspondent, Tim Coleman. He said, "Oh, mate, so we got to get this, Brazilian case. It was absolutely unbelievable. These aliens walking around in the live, And I thought, I picked the wrong partner for this film. This guy's out of his mind. Like, there's no way that happened. So I just want everyone to understand, that's how I was introduced to this case. Fast forward over 10 years, I am, more than 10 years. Yeah, probably. Any case, I'm invited to Brazil on a separate account. I just finished a film called I Know What I Saw, which is a 2-hour special for the History Channel. And I get invited to give a presentation in Brazil in a place called Peruíbe, which is sort of the south of Sao Paulo. And Stanton Friedman is there. So I love Stanton Friedman, and I respect him tremendously. He's the guy that, thanks to him and a handful of others, we know about Roswell. So I'm there with Stanton, and I'll back up a second. Right before I left, there was a very good friend of mine who was very high up in the entertainment industry, Jeff Sagansky. I'll use his name. He's fine with that. And he said, "Oh, James, you're going to Brazil. You have to look into that Varginha case." And I was, "Oh God, not this, please!" But I had a lot of respect for him, and I said, "Jeff, yeah, sure, I'll look into that for you. Yeah, I'll definitely do that." Click, and I said to myself, "I'm not wasting 1 second on this case." So I fly to Brazil, and I'm there at this conference with Stanton Friedman, and the topic came up. I think there was like a witness there or something. And Stanton looked at me and he said, "Oh, James, yeah, you don't know about the Varginha case?" And I said, well, I know about it, but live aliens walking around in town, like, please. And he goes, not so fast. You know, there's a lot of very compelling firsthand testimony. So that was the impetus for me to say, okay, let me have a look. Let me poke around a little bit. And so the more I looked, the more I found. And here we are 16 years later. And we've got the most compelling, in my humble opinion, firsthand eyewitness testimony the world's ever seen. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so to kick off the events, would it be fair to say that probably the defining event that kicked this all off is the testimony of a pilot, Carlos de Souza, 13th of January 1996, and he spots a cigar-shaped object about the size of a school bus emitting smoke, losing altitude over Varginha, and he follows it to a field. What happens, James?
So he was very early in the morning. He was an ultralight pilot. He was a history professor in Sao Paulo, Carlos de Souza, and he sees this strange-looking, perhaps it was a prototype, he didn't know. It was a cigar-shaped, aluminum, colored, very early in the morning, and it was clearly in distress. It had a big gash in the side. It had a vapor-type smoke coming out the back, not typical smoke. It was more like a vapor. And he thought, my gosh, that looks like it's going down. And he was right near what's called the Maiolini Farm, which is roughly 10, 12 miles outside as the crow flies from Varginha. And he drives off this freeway and he follows this dirt road up to what he describes as an impact site. He said he saw this thing struggling to stay in the air. It impacts the ground. Half of it stays somewhat intact, and there's rest of debris over a very large area, larger than a football field.
And does he see the craft crashed on the ground?
Yeah, he sees it go down into the ground, and then he lost sight of it, but he saw it go down and crash. Yes.
And when he gets to that location, what happens? Can he get onto the site?
Yes. So he arrives at the site with his car. He gets out of the car, and he sees this. He said the smell was just so horrendous that he grabbed his T-shirt and he put it up over his mouth. It was like sulfur, like ammonia, eyes watering, very, very strong. He said it was so strong he could barely tolerate it. And then he saw these lots of little.
I've heard this associated with death and decomposing corpses of extraterrestrials. That the smell is just beyond word, even worse than human flesh of rotten eggs and stuff like that. Pneumonia, and also I hear from what was the propulsion was driving the vehicle, propulsion-wise, also adds to that smell. It has a weird ammonia smell and stuff like that. So.
Bits of aluminum. There was one piece of the craft that was intact that was about half of it, about half the size of a large school bus, and lots of bits of debris of various sizes. And he said he picked one of the pieces up, and he said it was as light as a feather. You couldn't really feel it in your hands, and he crumpled it up, and when he opened his hands, it took the shape back up again.
Just like Roswell.
Just like Roswell. And so he was but he wasn't thinking alien. He really didn't know what he was looking at. And then the military trucks rolled in from the military base from the exact opposite direction.
So he's absolutely categorical that the Brazilian military intervened, took over a site where what appears to have been an alien spacecraft has crashed. Does he see a body? Does he see any live beings?
Nope. He didn't see any body. I did ask him, I said, was the remaining part of the craft large enough for beings? He said, yes, but I didn't see any beings.
And do the military take the piece of metal that he picked up off him? Do they allow him to...
Oh, yeah, they came and they were telling him to leave. And then he was like, I'm just, trying to help. and they took out their rifles and they threatened him. And that's at that point he didn't have the peace anymore. He got back in his car and left.
Were there any American soldiers with the Brazilian military in that intervention?
Not that he said, no.
So you've got an obvious crash. I guess in the sequence of events, the next event that has always intrigued me. By the way, I've got to show my personal interest in the Virginia case.
By the way, I can also say that we have a network in place that can track these craft, whether they're being downed or if they have psionics breathing down, or it's like we have like a grid and stuff like that. There's like NORAD stuff like that that tracks these objects. So we already have teams in place. It seems like there's always some defined space-time in what we have in getting these craft as well. We can just do this around the world. We have different teams for designated for different places and stuff. Different teams. So.
James, and this is your fault. I've got a little alien being from Virginia.
Oh my gosh!
That a guy from the United Kingdom who makes.
Oh, that's my little brother. Hal.
Oh, you've got one of those.
Hal. How you doing, everybody?
Okay. I wasn't going to share this, but I
very still. You get out.
Okay.
We have something in common.
No, I've had this in front of my audience now for months, and nobody's picked up on it. So I thought it was time to reveal to the audience that I have an alien being in my set. So
that's really funny. Yeah, that's really great. But
so
let me.
Can I just? I'm just interested in the sequence because I've always been struck. You've got that crash about 10 miles out of town, and then, as I understand it, on the morning of January the 20th. There's a couple who report seeing a damaged craft, which presumably is another different craft, flying low over the city of Virginia.
No. Okay, so we made that much clearer in this cut of the film, and we also have footage
that we stuff. I have some papers on this on Virginia. I had case files on this. Lost my home and everything, went homeless for a while, but I had stuff about this case. I had a lot of paperwork on this. I remember seeing UFO bodies, kind of like that, but it was in black and white. I think they were taken by government or whatever.
You put together of such a craft. I know this is hard to grasp and to wrap your mind around, but if the claims are true and the witnesses are to be believed, what we were seeing with the craft over Virginia was a rescue operation.
Yeah. By non-humans.
Yes, because they all said, and I had a hard time believing it, but I interviewed a lot of people, and they said it was looking for something. I said, how do you know it was looking for something? Because it was doing a grid search, slow and low and methodical, going over, stopping, back and forth for like a long time.
So it wasn't a damaged craft at all. It was a craft that was looking for its comrades.
Nope, there were now we have new witnesses on the cigar-shaped craft. We have the two farmers, Enrico, I'll think of her last name in a second. They both saw the same thing that Carlos described, a cigar-shaped craft with vapor coming out the back early in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, something like this. We actually got a map and we figured out, okay, we have a sighting, we have Virginia here, we have the farmers that see the craft here, we have another witness that sees the craft over here, and it crashes, and it ultimately crashes right in the middle. It actually makes a lot more sense now that we have that. So we have new witnesses where he was in his farm, and we shot there, and he said he heard something very strange in the sky, and he looked out the window and he saw this big cigar-shaped craft making a weird noise like it was in trouble, and it landed on his farm. And that was, so we have that testimony now as well.
Right, and so that's a completely different craft, because that's the thing I could never understand. How could the craft have crashed on the 13th of January, and then a week later people are saying they've seen the craft again?
We don't know. No. So yeah, the craft that people have described was a disc-shaped craft that we're doing as a grid search operation. Everybody talks about that. The monument over over Virginia is a big disc-shaped craft. That's the craft that people saw that was methodically looking. And I specifically asked all these witnesses, how do you know it was looking for something? They said it was low, and it was going out, coming back, stopping, going out, coming back, stopping.
Well, this is the thing. I see, with all the UFOs that I've seen, you know, that either some are doing, I see some like a mapping thing, almost like a satellite. It's not, it seems like they're just doing like a topography scan, scanning some stuff around here. And then you got, you have to get the psychic thing of what's going on as well. I mean, that probably just common sense deduction, psychological deduction. But being some other things, there's also a psychic connection that it's almost like they're telling you what's going on.
Clearly looking for something. And we really make that distinction this time in the craft because it's like, wow, that's crazy, you know?
Do you have any intelligence, James, on how the craft that did crash, the cigar-shaped craft on the 13th of January 1996, is there any evidence to suggest that it was attacked by us humans, as we now know is the case, that the US apparently has been using high-pulse microwave weapons and indeed in some cases artillery to try and bring down these craft?
I've thought about this for a long time, well over a decade. And I'm thinking to myself, all these witnesses described this craft as having this gash in the back, struggling to remain in the air and smoke. So something collided with it, okay? Was it a meteor?
It's something that people don't want to hear, but a lot of cases are government is very evil and is the enemy. And the criminal activity that they do to bring these vehicles down. And killing the occupants of these vehicles is murder. A lot of ways. And I want that part totally killed off and destroyed. Or just totally destroyed. Stuff like that. We don't have a right to do that. And I wish they'd come back and attack us. I really wish they would. They shouldn't tolerate that for our government. And stuff like that. Pisses me off that a lot of people get so pissed off about our government and all sorts of stuff. This is one of many reasons. Because I know a lot of stuff that other people don't know.
Here? Was it an asteroid or I don't know, something? I mean, it collided with something. Something hit it. So your guess is as good as mine. I know that there have been orders over the decades of shoot first, ask questions later. Would it surprise me? It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know because I don't. The case goes somewhat cold when it gets on the American side. But the Americans apparently, according to the Brazilians, knew it was coming.
Yeah, they'll get to that. So in terms of our chronology, I'm trying to keep you to a good chronology. On the afternoon
of the thing is that our contractors gives us this technology. We know about stuff, we know about UFO activity in these South American countries or around the world. And we put in assets in these countries so they can track them. And they can tell us if there's an aircraft. We also use human trafficking of psionics, psionics to bring them down, as well as other weapons that we use, and stuff like that. God, so criminal. It's beyond criminal.
January the 20th, 1996, around 1 p.m., 3 young women, sisters, Lillian, 14 years old, Valkyria Silva, Valkyria, who's 16, and Katya, who's 22. They encounter something. What do they see?
So my understanding, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was a very hot day because January is summer, and they were taking a shortcut through like a little. It was an area of Virginia that was being developed. There were some construction sites, and there was a cinder block wall and a little gate, and they could go through this field and kind of cut across as a little shortcut. And all three of them were walking together, and one of them said they saw like some graffiti on the cinder block wall, which caught their attention, and they're looking at this graffiti, and then they see what looks like maybe a statue or something slouched up against the cinder block wall. They're looking at it. They're getting closer and closer. Got within 10, 12 feet of it, again in broad daylight, all three of them. And this little creature that looked like it was feeble and suffering went from a crouched position, staring ahead, to turning and looking them right in the eyes. And that sent one of the girls, I think it was Valkyria and her sister Liliani, running. Freaked out, she said she screamed and ran and left Katya. So Katya is locked eyes on this creature, and she's having telepathic communication with it.
Right.
And Liliani who I think was 16, and Valkyria was 14.
Clearly, like the pictures and stuff like that, these creatures, and it's like I knew something that they had that shown the figures and stuff like that. And everything. But I remember seeing this stuff as well decades ago.
Liliani realizes Katya is still back there. I got to go back, and they didn't know she didn't know what that was. She left her sister and ran back to get Katya. She was just locked eyes on this thing, and it was basically telling, "I need help." It was feeble. It was scared. It needed help.
Don't trust
and she grabbed Katya by the hand and yanked her out of there. And off they went, and that exploded in the headlines.
Now that's correct me if I'm wrong here. It's 4 to 5 feet tall. It's a hairless creature with oily brown skin.
Yes.
And crucially, it had 3 head bumps, which...
Yeah, it had like little lumps, 3 of them, yes.
So that's pretty much what what they saw, and it's squatting like that, looking directly at that young girl.
Yes.
Now you've interviewed the young girls, haven't you?
Multiple times.
And they're adamant that this is what they saw.
No, absolutely no question. They worked with a woman named Beto Rodriguez, who is a artist, and they got together with her and they created that now infamous poster of the drawing of the creature, and they said it's exactly what it looks like.
Because I noticed that in the official debunk of the whole Virginia case, there's a claim made by the military and the Brazilian government that it was likely a homeless man named Madinho, who was known for crouching in the area due to a mental disability. What do you say to that assertion?
I've seen him. He's a known character in the town. He's still there. Like, I just saw him just a month ago. And everybody knows who he is. Like, he was he was a pillar. Everybody knows Medino. It was just so laughable. It's absolute. Yeah.
So with some certainty, you've got triple corroboration there from the 3 young girls, now women, and they're adamant that what they saw was clearly some kind of alien being, not a local homeless man.
1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, they just cringe when you hear that. And the girls are saying, like, they don't know exactly what they saw, but they said it wasn't a human and it wasn't an animal, and it had telepathic communication through the eyes. It was not something of this earth. It's like,
Yeah.
This is their thing that they want to cover up with UFOs and ETs, that we all have the ability to use telepathic, psychic abilities, telepathy and stuff like that. They want to control all this on a global scale, as well as, Russian, Chinese, stuff like that. And this is the reason why these are things we want to control our communication, what we see, what we hear, what we watch, and everything else. And if we could be telepaths with these psychic abilities, even to heal, or some of us can, to heal others. I know I've been able to do a little bit of that myself. They put also the drug business out business and medicine. Anyway.
The thing I find fascinating, James, is a lot of our folk mythology talks about the devil, and isn't it interesting that they describe an oleaginous figure that essentially could pass for devil-like from our mythology. And it's interesting because the story gets thicker, more intense. Later that day, there's a police officer, Marco Eli Ceresi, a young police officer. He actually reportedly captures a similar creature.
Just a couple blocks away. A couple hours later, just a couple blocks away.
Is it the same creature?
One would only assume that it had to be. It was like 2 blocks away, a couple hours later.
What does he do with it?
So it's interesting because Marco Ceresi was a military officer, and Eric Lopes, also another military officer. They're both friends. Marco apparently was off for the night, and they get this he gets an APB that, hey, there's something really unusual out lingering to go capture what
he just happens to know that there's an alien on the loose. So we get that from the Americans.
Whatever this thing is. They didn't say it was an ET or anything. It was something very unusual. So those were the orders given to Eric Lopes. Eric
they're not going to. That's going to freak him out and be like, what the fuck? They're not going to tell him just to be on the lookout for something. Or something, so.
His buddy, who was off for the night, says, hey, you want to join me? I've got this crazy mission of looking, So Marco Ceresi jumps in the car with him, and off they go. And they actually see this creature 2 blocks from where the girls encountered it just a couple hours later, running across the road. So Marco Ceresi, without a moment's hesitation, just jumps out of the car and goes and grabs it. And in the process of grabbing it, and it didn't put up much of a fight. It was pretty feeble.
Well, that's fucking business.
Under his arm, and he had some weird oil on his skin. They go to one little tiny hospital. It was more like a clinic. And the doctor apparently came out and took one look and said, I don't know what that is, but you're not bringing it here. So then they go off to regional hospital and they drop it off.
To do that. I mean, you should know better. It's not human. This stuff does a lot of procedures on it.
Regional hospital. So, yeah, sorry.
No, that's good. So you set this up perfectly now. Is this where Dr. Italo Venturelli comes across the being?
Exactly, yes. Yep. So we had, up until this point, we had testimony from a military officer who we found that he took a creature from Humanitas Hospital because it went from the first little clinic, didn't get out of the car. Then it went to regional, got out of the car, was delivered, taken indoor. In fact, I was just at regional hospital like 2 weeks ago, and I went to the front desk, the main entry point, and I said, hey, this incident, and they got a big plaque out front. This is where an ET came. It's all right out in the open. Nobody's hiding this story. And I asked the people at the desks coming into the ER, hey, have you guys heard? Oh, yeah. One of the people that was there that night still working here now. And they said, the creature, no, I'm not kidding you. I swear to you. And they said, and they got a big plaque outside. I can share you a picture of it talking about the events. But they took the ET in the back entrance. They said they did not come in the front. They took it in the back.
Did the person you spoke to, aside from Dr. Italo, did they also see the alien being?
Good question. We only had 24 more hours before we were flying home. We got the details. We got the contact information of that individual that was there that night. Don't know. Didn't have a chance to talk to them. Don't know if they.
That's what I love about this, James. Is you've been coming and going from this city now for years, and each time you go back, you get more layers of factual information that corroborate what you originally uncovered.
You got to hear So now we have, for the first time ever, because we have this military police officer who we got to come forward, and he drove a creature from Humanitas to Eza military base, and then Eza, Campinas, and that's when the Americans came in, right? So now, for the first time ever, we have firsthand eyewitness testimony from the lead neurosurgeon still at the hospital who describes face-to-face contact with the live alien for 4 minutes. It's
okay,
incredible.
So at this point, James, with your permission, we're going to roll the little sizzle grab you've given us from Dr. Italo Venturelli. Here's Dr. Italo.
Meu nome é Ítalo Venturelli, estudei em São Paulo, eu fiz neurologia, neurocirurgia, fiz mais de 5.000 cirurgias. Só queria deixar essa mensagem que eu realmente vi. No dia fui ver como se eu tivesse ido ver um paciente, e não era um paciente, realmente era um alien, claramente um alien. O crânio era em forma de gota, os olhos em forma de gota. Eu fui ver um paciente, achando que era um humano. E eu vi ali um ser maravilhoso de um mundo que eu não conheço. Me pergunto se estava sofrendo, ele não estava sofrendo, se ele estava entendendo, ele estava entendendo. Muito calmo, muito tranquilo, olhou para mim como se entendesse tudo o que eu estava pensando. Eu acho bacana conversar isso, explicar para as pessoas que existem muito mais coisas do que a gente imagina. Para mim foi muito importante ver, porque eu vi a imensidão que tem esse universo, né? Não somos só nós aqui, nesse mundo tão maravilhoso, mas deve existir muitos outros, e aquele ser que estava ali é prova disso.
What I love, James, about Dr. Italo is he's very open about the fact that this being touched him. He seems quite emotional about the experience.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll tell you how this came about, because it's extraordinary what happened. We knew that the live alien was at Regional Hospital. We have people that we're in touch with over more than a decade that work at both hospitals that we meet privately with. Every time we go to Virginia, it's always quiet, off the record. They come and there's certain secrets they talk about during surgery, and only during surgery. So, we knew, and from other testimony, that creature was it. So, the other neurosurgeon who was on duty that night was his sort of protege. It was Dr. Italo and Dr. Marcos Vinicius. Dr. Marco Vinicius did a little procedure on the creature. Apparently it had some damage, some swelling, something happened. Did a little procedure on the creature, and I don't want to go into too much detail because it's an ongoing thing. And then he had a heart attack and died in 2018. Okay, so now he's gone, and his partner, who's the lead neurosurgeon, Dr. Italo, himself had a heart attack just a few months ago, and he's in the ICU, staring at the ceiling, thinking that he was going to die, and he thought, I can't believe I'm taking this to the grave. This is not right. If I survive this, I'm going public. And then, yep. And so he said, I'm doing this for my grandchildren, and I don't care what the consequences are. I don't care. That's what he said.
That is such a raw act of courage. Those are the kind of whistleblowers we need, James. And full credit to you. Full credit to you for persuading him to speak to you about it. I just take my hat off to witnesses like Dr. Italo Venturelli for having the courage to come forward. Was he threatened not to speak?
Oh, yeah. So what happened was, and I want to send a shout out to Alini Kras, who's our lead translator and one of our co-producers. She has a very disarming presence, and she calmed him, and he snuck us into the back of the hospital, snuck us in. And we're going, what's happening? What's going on? He sneaks us into the ICU, exactly where it happened. We get masked up because you can't be in the ICU without it. So we get all of our masks on. I don't know where this is going. And all of a sudden, he just starts telling all. Wow. And it was extraordinary. And then the hospital staff caught us filming. And what are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be filming. Nobody has any permits. Nobody, So they kick us out. But we'd gotten the goods. And he's like, I think I just lost my job. And so they kick us all out. So we leave the hospital and we go into a we didn't know where we're going. We just went into a cafe next door, and we're filming at this cafe. We're all like practically crying. And I asked him how it felt after 29 years to come forward, what it was like to look into the eyes of this creature. Tell me what it was like. I was dying to know. And he said it was a higher level of intelligence, so much higher, more advanced. Even though that it was in captivity, it had control of the room. he said, an intelligence way beyond. It was like an angel. But he describes his skin as more white with the big red eyes and the little horns, exactly the way the girls described. And I just thought to myself, was that sort of a defense measure? Did their skin react to the hot sun? When they're scared and freed? I don't know. I don't know.
It does. Sometimes we our mind over exaggerates a situation here where we see something. Our eyes are wide to see us, and we see something else that's what's really there. We can make things either too big or too small. It's how our DNA makeup is, our bodies, our psychological makeup is. And like some people, when they've had an incident of being scared off by someone, people will say, oh, it's this big, this person's huge, look like a bear. And, people investigate find out, see who the person is. It's not as big as a bear, the person is just the same height as the person that scared them, or whatever. It's just the part being scared, and they have to be surprised. Is that can exaggerate how our mind processes it, and psychologically totally twist what we saw into something totally different than what really happened. This happens quite a lot. Even with police and investigations, some people say, oh, this person's huge, that person's huge. And often, people, from the act of being scared, will give them wrong information. Because the psychology, the incident totally warped their thinking is what they really saw, is what really happens, two different things. So, it happens like even extraterrestrials can implant memories in you, and I believe this is done throughout the ages, of course it has. And people get false memories, they're out of fear, they have to be scared, will totally transform what our memory sees over time to something else, and demons or whatever. Like I said, there are evil aliens and there are good ones, and stuff like that. There's some that you say deserve to be killed, and some are most peaceful, and almost like angels, etc. They're just like humans. They're good, bad humans and stuff like that.
So is this particular being damaged? Are they injured?
Yes, every being that I might understand. And here's an interesting thing is that I remember when I was first going to include a whole scene from Virginia in the phenomenon, right? So I was covering like Rua and Socorro and a number of other cases in the United States, and I was covering Virginia. And Dr. Roger Lear was adamant. It was like 2012, maybe 2013. And Dr. Roger Lear was just adamant about getting on camera. But at the time, I had just flown. We'd rented this filming space in Los Angeles, and we had all these witnesses coming in from different corners of the world about the Africa case, Rua, Zimbabwe, for the 20th anniversary, bringing those guys together. And I was hyper-focused on that. I was dealing with Kenneth Arnold's daughter, Kim Arnold, getting her to go on camera for the first time, revealing all these incredible things about his experience. And then Roger and I was backburnered Virginia for the time because I had my hands full. Like, we was working 17-hour days. And Roger Lear kind of got upset, and he says, well, if you're not going to film me, at least take my tapes. And so he gave me his tapes, and then I digitized them. I don't know what the exact time span was, but I gave them back to him, and then he died. So fast forward when I was producing because I ended up deleting all of the scenes from Virginia. I mean, it was a very painful day out of the phenomenon because I just couldn't squeeze it in. It was too much, too complicated. We were still missing critical testimony. We couldn't find Sousa, like a number of other people. I said, okay, I'm going to make a movie on this case alone. The heck with the rest of it. And I deleted the whole thing out of there. So fast forward all these years later, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got the Roger Lear tapes. So I went and found them, and then I bought his book, and I'm reading the book, and I have this incredible encounter. And the tapes were basically a transcript of the book was a transcript of the tapes because I had the tapes. However, there was one scene where he's in Humanitas Hospital talking to doctors that allegedly worked on another alien. And he gave this incredible description of his interview with these two doctors. And that was at Humanitas Hospital, but he talks about communication with this creature, like high-level communication. It's phenomenal.
So we're talking here, is this alien that you're talking about that was at Humanitas Hospital, is that a completely separate being from the one that Dr. Italo is saying that he was trying to treat?
I believe so, but I don't know for sure, but I believe so.
But the implications are...
This is because there's a lot of stuff that happens with UFOs in Brazil and South America, as well as a lot more around the world, period. But I have a lot of case papers on Virginia on this that was happening there and different stuff that has been happening. I think there probably was too, because there's stuff that I know about this as well. 20 plus years. And I actually have papers, and I have people, had eyewitness, have people sign at the signing and stuff like that, and everything. As always is bullshit. It's like I knew it was real, but I thought it was complete bullshit. And more people talk about everything. It's like, you know.
If this is all true and correct, that there are at least 2 bodies of alien beings, so-called biologics, in the possession now of what will learn to be the US military or intelligence community.
Yes, so we also just interviewed the former chief of police of the area all around as a military.
This is my big question. Why are these talking about? Yeah. I'm attacking the U.S. installation. I just say, all my brothers and sisters, I'd be petitioning, by either world government or body, say, hey, we got to build these some of the bitches up in the U.S. or Russia, wherever they are, whether Russia or China, kill these stupid roaches, these monkeys, and let's get our brothers and sisters back, or whatever,
Military base, and we've been trying to get him for years, and we would just show up at his house. We just kept doing it year after year after year, and we finally got him a couple months ago. And he says,
is he the guy where you turned up and he was at a window on a house that was elevated above you guys looking up at it? And you were really worried you were going to get shot because he had a gun.
Oh, yeah, no, he said, I will shoot you. That guy, that's a different guy. I was P2 military police. But Pedro was the former chief of police, and it's like we finally showed up at his house, and we were going over there. Maybe it was like 6 o'clock, and we were all in a kind of a hurry. We're trying to continue north to get up to Virginia. We had a lot of filming to do. And I said, hey, let's stop and get some pizza. And it was like, well, we got a job to do. And I wanted to stop and get some pizza. We met this great restaurant owner of pizza, and we had pizza, and we had a little wine. We had a great dinner. But it really, cost us a good 90 minutes. And so we were showing up at the former chief of police, Pedro Aguiar, a little later than we wanted to. As it turns out, it was perfect, because when we arrived, he had just gotten home 10 or 15 minutes earlier. So it was absolutely divine, it was perfect. And we eventually got our way into his house. And then it's like, hey, you mind if we take a couple pictures? And they got the camera in there. And then we got the audio going. And then he's like, you know what? And he gave us an interview. And he said that he heard that there were 3.
Wow.
That's what he heard. Yeah. And he saw one of them under a tarp that was probably deceased. He was at the military base Eza. He describes all the helicopters and all the activity. He said he saw more brass that day at Eza military base than he's ever seen in his life. More brass. He talked about the brass. And so we got him to go on the record.
Senior officers, basically.
Yeah. And so we got the former chief of police now for the first time. And the military officer, Marco Cheriz, who died a couple weeks after allegedly handling this creature, he dies. Well, the people that did the autopsy is IPD, two forensic pathologists, Dr. Giannini and Dr. Armando, both went on the record for the first time for us on camera just recently and said, I did the autopsy. The guy that did the tissue samples, Dr. Giannini, who founded the company, he said, I've never seen bacteria behave in the way that bacteria behaved. It's never before and never since.
So just to remind our audience, this is the policeman, the military policeman, who got a scratch under his arm when he was retrieving the body of, or the alien, the live alien, and taking it to the hospital that night in the original 20th of January incident. And he'd got that scratch, it had become infected and developed.
These guys keep this stuff secret. Had no right to keep them. Maybe they should be killed off for doing that.
An abscess. And so the pathologists couldn't help him at all. They couldn't treat him.
Well, so he was treated in and I talked to another doctor who also treated him just recently. He didn't go on camera, but we met with him privately.
I'm talking about the doctor, I'm talking about the military and stuff. And the only way to keep them hostage and everything, unless they got them off the world. Unless they did that. But, you know.
And he said we threw the kitchen sink at him, and there's nothing we could do. That bacteria was just the most resilient bacteria they've ever seen. Nothing reacted to it, and it killed him.
Now, James, I just want at this point, because our audience may be sort of reeling from the number of people that you've cited here. There are multiple corroborative witnesses, people who saw craft, people who saw beings, doctors, military police. How many of these people do you think would be willing to testify publicly to an inquiry under oath?
Oh, fuck that stupid shit. Go into Congress. Fuck Congress. These guys are criminals and Congress keeps it secret. Why the fuck should they do that? They don't know you or anybody else. I mean, it's bunch of girls, my ass. That's BS. Fuck the U.S. government. They don't know the U.S. or people there or anything. I mean, they said what they want to say like that. The thing is, me and other people that I've been around the military all my life, not in it, but plain people, you know, a lot more than you guys do. And we've been around a lot longer and stuff like that. And it's like, it's just ridiculous how they believe everything the stupid military says. Not us other people that already knew about this way before these whistleblowers came out. We already knew this shit. We already knew everything.
All of them. Wow. And I'm okay. So I can't go into detail right now, but let's just say that
our government not like that. They don't. I mean, you know, people say they don't want that whatsoever.
I'm working with certain individuals in the government to make that happen.
I'm very excited to hear that. Yeah, because I mean, the thing that blows me away about what you're revealing here, and there's much more to come, is you've done layered, quality, investigative journalism. This is not something that's easily debunked. You have multiple corroborative witnesses supporting a consistent...
Well, when I first heard about this, about 20 years ago or so, there's some stuff that I may be BS, but I went through all the process like you did and everything, and you can't, you know, erase all of that. You know that there's something real that's happened there. I see the photos and all this other stuff. I don't know if it is something classified, I don't know, because I have seen classified stuff, a lot of stuff over the years. And it's like, you still wonder sometimes, is this BS? All this stuff. You know, you see signed signatures, people in Brazilian Air Force, in other countries, Air Forces, military stuff like that. You see the reports that, in this case, special Portuguese, Brazil, that is Portuguese there. And so you can't put all these reports and say it's all BS. And this was before all the internet stuff. I remember last before there was this internet stuff, and they get reports of Paradia and stuff. Or if I'm India, I call it Paradia and stuff, but anyways, I just never papers that I had going through. I see the side papers. I see the aliens and stuff like that, and I go through what people saw, and also lakes nearby, ponds, stuff like that. These hills, the farms, stuff like that, the fields. And I can just like see all the stuff. And also like go up here and see things and everything.
Claim.
I have the head neurosurgeon that runs the entire department at Regional Hospital today, willing to take a public lie detector test and testify that everything he's saying is true. And then there are other doctors that we're talking to now. Like
did he lose his job because you did the interview, or was it okay?
It was tumultuous, but he was so in demand that they couldn't. He's the lead guy, so
you can't easily get neurosurgeons there in Brazil. You can't get them that much over there. It's like you're gonna fire the guy who you need him to perform all these brain surgeries and everything. Are you kidding me? I mean, they could, but a lot of people would be pissed, and they need him.
They couldn't shoot themselves in the foot. So it's been rough. It's a bit of a rough ride with him. But he said to me, he goes, James, I don't care the consequences. The world needs to know this happened. This being that I encountered.
How did I know about this 20 plus years ago? You knew about this as well, but how did I know so much about this? I had the papers. Was something classified that I had? I don't know. I passed stuff before that was. Other stuff as well.
Communicated with me telepathically. It was a highly advanced intelligence, way more than anything he's ever seen here on Earth. He called it almost like an angel, and it was despite the fact that it was in. It sends chills. Like despite the fact that it was in captivity, it had control of the room. Right. Now, one more thing I think you were asking me about.
Too bad they have control of the room with the stupid Americans and Brazilian military king. Just flat them on their backs or something.
Oh, he said it was because I asked him, "How long did you spend? Did you show the trailer of the film yet?"
We're going to show the trailer at the very end. I'm going to tease the trailer at the very end.
I need to work out still.
I got like, how long did you spend with this creature? You know, I always want to I want to experience the witnesses. I want so badly to be there in the room with them and know every detail. So just put me in that room with the what are
they tell you? You already know a bit. I've been through a little bit of this myself. It shatters your dimension. Everything that we hear is fixed. It's a simulation. All the stuff is not real. It's real, but it's not. I can see outside this dimension. I can see outside this reality. I can see outside time and space sometimes and everything. What you feel is beyond Tron in a lot of ways. I'm not talking about the stupid movie either. But I'm talking about a whole different level of consciousness and everything else. This is what they are. Government and all these other governments trying to hide. They don't want us have these abilities. We got criminals running our governments. Keep this stuff secret. You gotta ask yourself why. What are they trying to hide? It has nothing to do with this stupid bullshit of, national security. That's a lie.
And plenty of people from Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works, they said the same thing. It doesn't have anything to do with national security. You know, especially the enemy has craft of their own. They also have satellites that can look over Area 51, see inside the mountain, see stuff, and everything else. You know, they know our secrets. It's about, we know theirs. It's about keeping the populace back to, you know, being just a bunch of apes and monkeys.
Feel like, you know? And
we're like in a prison. I believe that's one other way. It's like we're in a prison as well. They want to keep us in this prison and keep us locked up. And they don't want us going outside our prison cells. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
And I get all those little just details. I want to hear it all. And he said after about 4 minutes, he stepped out to do something, and the military burst in, I think exactly what he said, burst in, and took the being and threatened everyone with secrecy and then left.
So the being's still alive at that point?
Yes, the being was alive, and the military grabbed it and left.
And this is the Brazilian military. There's no U.S. officers with that Brazilian military team.
There are others claiming, that they were in contact with Americans, but that was later, a little bit later.
And do we know where the being was taken from the hospital where Dr. Italo had attempted to treat it?
We unfortunately, I know that the beings ended up at EZA and definitely Campinas, but I don't know. And then, of course, we have the flight control officer who said that the USAF, which is the United States Air Force flight, came in, and it didn't have authorization from the Brazilian government to land. And a higher level government official, Brazilian, walked in and said, let the plane land. So we put out a FOIA request.
This is another falsity about governments that so-called hate us. When it comes to UFOs, ETs, non-human intelligence, all that stuff is gone. When it comes to UFOs and HI stuff like that, all that doesn't exist. Alright? I see this in Iran stuff that we've done with Iran, UFO crash there. We retrieved the craft there as well and stuff. So, you know, all this stuff is pretty much a fake of how people think that we're aliens. That's only, it's like they're on a different level. It's like you have the outside, you know, how can I put it here? There's this reality, there's this conscience that we have for, some of us don't trust, our governments don't trust each other, we don't like each other. When it comes to UFOs, that's a different state, that's a different consciousness of trees and stuff like that we have. And there's a global network and how we can get into these countries and deal with UFOs and non-human intelligence, etc. It's all false, it's all fake. But anyway.
Air flights in America that came into Brazil from the 14th, I think it was the 13th, to the 27th or something like this. And it took 3 years for our team to get that response, and it came back from the CIA. And it's like basically it's a national security issue, it's classified, and your request is denied.
So let me get this very clear, James. Normally, aircraft movements like that would be the subject of very little controversy, and they would be released.
One would imagine, what do I know? All I know is I asked, and I was told it was like national. It's in the film. You'll see it.
So you know from a military source, an air traffic controller, that a U.S. Air Force plane came into the ESA military base, very, very close to Virginia.
They came to Campinas.
Campinas. Whereabouts is that relative
Not that
to Virginia?
far. I showed a map in there. I'd have to say it's to the south. Maybe 2 hours, 3 hours south.
But we know,
pretty much
don't
south
we,
of Virginia.
your witness told you that US military helicopters were part of that deployment. Is that correct?
Right. Multiple military witnesses, multiple people. Yes, yes. And even the chief of police described those helicopters just recently.
Can I ask you this?
This happened, from... And this is the thing that my father saw us, where we could just see it blink in and out time and appear places. Like we could be in the U.S., we could be in the Philippines, we could be, Afghanistan, we could be Africa, we could be in South America, we could be in Brazil, Venezuela, we could be in Argentina. That we have a way of traversing space and time and just having our assets there. We're just having stuff there. And it's very crazy how this stuff works. I mean, how many thousands of miles is that? From Florida or Texas even to Brazil there, and everything. And then you have to worry about language, which is really Portuguese. I know because I have some Brazilian girlfriends, and still do.
Never understand is I appreciate that the Brazilian government at the time and probably now is very close to the US military and the intelligence community, and for a large period of time the CIA practically ran a lot of governments in South America and Central America. But why on earth would the Brazilian government have allowed an American retrieval team to fly in and take away what is probably the first...
I'm telling you stuff that I knew about 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, that this is all fake. There's a world government that we have keeping stuff like this a secret, and this drones, PS, and everything else, and everything. How they use drones to put in more laws in place so people, more reconnaissance, surveillance of people and stuff like that. And how people think that certain nations in the United States have, a hate or neutral relationship or whatever. When it comes to UFOs or retrievals, I'm telling you, we can go to Venezuela and we can get that. Probably. Doesn't matter how bad the situation is, it's a whole different thing. It's all a big fake and stuff like that.
Of evidence of a non-human intelligence.
I asked that very question to, I don't know if I should use his name. It's a name that you're familiar with. And he said, because they can.
Really? Yeah.
That's what he said. Yeah, we do whatever we want.
Because the implications of this are that the Brazilian military and presumably other militaries around the world are colluding with the US military.
For those that don't know, Bob is a designation, government designation, in secret programs and stuff like that. We use NASA as a name, insert name to use in place of other people's real names.
And covering this up. I mean,
I was shocked. I was shocked when I found out America was involved. I had no idea when I started this investigation. None. I was, oh my God. And not only that, they were there intimidating witnesses. I have people on camera talking about it. Yes.
So the US was going around intimidating witnesses.
Yes. You remember there was a whole family of witnesses. A whole family of witnesses, and they saw to take their account at face value. Right, they lived right near where the girls saw the creature and where the capture occurred. There was a disc-shaped object quietly and silently and methodically maneuvering through the neighborhood, low. And they watched it. He goes, I watched it for 30 minutes. The whole family did, and they all talk about it. And so, and then they said the Americans came, and it's Americans with some Brazilians, and he said maybe NASA. He wasn't sure if it was NASA. They didn't know. But he said maybe NASA. And they were told, this conversation never happened. We were never here. There were other the mother of the two girls got the visit. That was like one of the first times, from men in suits, and she's like, I don't know if definitively that it was the Americans, but they looked like Americans, and then one that had a strong accent that spoke Portuguese.
Didn't they offer her money?
Offered her money to tell the girls to go public on TV that they were lying and they saw it was a dog or something other. Yeah. And the mother refused.
Did the girls ever retract the story?
Never.
Wow. And has the family suffered any retribution from anyone as a result of speaking up?
They said that they've been mocked and laughed at, yes, for decades. Nothing to gain, everything to lose. This is not a career-enhancing, thing, especially back then.
So you've actually got US officials, possibly not military, maybe intelligence, gaslighting and intimidating, bullying, threatening people to try and stop them from talking about what they saw.
No question. And that was one of the first times where I really went all in on reporting on these so-called men in black or men in dark suits. I know it's got a lot of baggage that term is used. But I also, and this individual is going to have to be completely nameless, unfortunately, and I can't even use it. But this individual claimed on the behalf of someone that we've heard of to fly into Brazil and get a piece of that UFO and fly it back to the United States. And this individual swore to me up and down he did it. The individual did it.
Well, let me tell you, how many days ago or whatever was this? It was 1 day ago. They killed that guy. They're to be looking for that guy or something. You should have leaked that out. Mom's the word. Beat around this classified stuff, for fire and everything else. When you go into these bases, alright? You take that plane to these bases. There are these signs that says you better not be the one being heard. Mom's the word. Or don't be sorry. You mom the word. You don't have to name a name. They have a way to track this stuff. They have psionic assets where they can look through time and space. They can find a person too. There are different ways they can find a person. And I would not have put that out. That's just me. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's a human thing where we like to say, hey, I know this stuff. But I know the government. I know our piece of shit government what it does to keep people quiet and killing them. That was a terrible thing to put out there. Because they got ways. They can find anybody, anywhere on the face of the earth they really want.
Yeah.
So he was part of the retrieval team.
All I know is that on the behalf of somebody that's pretty high up, he went and he smuggled a piece of an alleged UFO. Didn't say that it was from that particular case, but the timeline would imply that it was of that particular case. But I don't know. There's more stuff coming out. It's going to continue to come out.
I just want to come back a little bit, James, because it's quite tragic, the story of the military police officer, Chiresi, who picked up the being and tried to get it medical treatment.
Yes.
His family, that they've got the records, and you've mentioned that the pathologists couldn't do anything for him. What kind of bacteria did they say it was? Was it known within human bacterial understanding?
It was we have just as of like a week or two ago, we got the full report with comments of the autopsy, and we're in the process of having them because our translator, it's very technical, but it was a variant of a particular bacteria that he's never in his life seen, and he's done thousands of biopsies. He said it was a variant, like it was an evolved bacteria that was resilient and was doing things that he's never seen do before. And
that's important, because one of the debunks on the Chiresi case that's been put out by the officials in the Brazilian military and intelligence community is that this bacteria was nothing unusual, that it wasn't an anomalous bacteria at all. You're categorical that the pathology records that you've newly obtained do verify that this was an anomalous bacteria.
I have him on camera
going... Let me tell you, our government, with the criminal activity that has, They're the fake documents, they're the fake facts, they're the fake everything. We put it out there and say, this is what's real, it wasn't anomalous, it wasn't alien, and stuff like that. And then say, trust the government. If you know anything about the 60s and 70s, unfortunately, people don't. Never trust the government. Never.
Going into total detail about it just recently, looking right at the camera. I'm the guy that did the tissue samples. I'm the guy that saw it. This is what I saw. I've done thousands and thousands of biopsies, never before and never since. That's right now.
I'm very excited to see this new film, James. It sounds like you've nailed down some great information. Can I ask you also about Dr. Italo's telepathic communications with the being? I don't want to take away from what you reveal in the film, but is there any more that you can tell us about what the being communicated to him?
I said to him, because I'm very curious, when you looked in the eyes, because everybody always says when you look in the eyes, that's when it happens, and so what happened when you looked in the eyes? Was there any kind of communication? And yes, he said yes. And then he said, fala se fala, which is speaking without speaking, which I thought was interesting, that it was calm, it was relaxed and calm and communicating that it was okay to him, and there was, and the way he described it, and I did another, just a couple weeks ago, I did another full sit down 1.5 hour extremely detailed interview with him with every possible detail I could possibly extract that I've yet to completely transcribe and put out into the world, but I will, and perhaps we'd do that with you guys, but where he goes into great detail as much as he can about it. But he said that it was an elevated, advanced intelligence. This is the one thing that he said. There's nothing like it here on Earth. It was.
The other detail, I don't know if it was your documentary or one of the other reports I've read, was that the whole hospital smelt of this ammonia.
That was us. Yes, I was one of the guys at Regional Hospital, and it seemed to have been one of the deceased beings. And the smell was just, and people had described the smell, even when the girls came in within 10, 12 feet of it, the smell lingered in that area, and the mother had come within minutes and the creature was gone, but the smell lingered in her nose, and they all said that the smell was really, really intense. And I don't know if that was, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I don't know if that was some sort of protective thing that they would excrete when they're scared and feeling threatened. I don't know.
Isn't it tragic that the first contact with a non-human intelligence is so acrimonious that essentially a military agency is forcefully removing that alien from receiving the kind of treatment it needed to survive? Right. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I find the emotional and moral implications of what we're talking about here quite profound.
Oh, believe me, I mean, I do too. And when I asked Dr. Italo on camera what it felt like after 29 years of this bottled up.
If I was one of those people in the U.S. government trying to intimidate me with a gun, I'd take my gun and probably shoot them down or something. I wouldn't allow that. I know people allow bullying too much from the government these days and stuff like that, but back in my day we didn't, and that's the problem with people today, is that we allow government to do too much, and while we suffer from our governments and stuff like that, still got much respect for people nowadays and what they tolerate. Yeah, if I was in that situation, I had a gun, troops are on me, I'd be like, it's like, fuck you, bitch. If I got killed, I'd be like, fuck, dude, go down.
He started crying. He just, he's been sitting, like, you imagine the weight of that on his shoulders, and he felt so much compassion for this being that was in captivity. The love, the compassion, the elevated consciousness is what he said. He said, we have so much to learn from the eyes of that being.
And yet, for 30 years, it's going to be 30 years in January next year since this incident occurred, which is why the timing of your new film, your updated film, is so important. The Brazilian government and military have persisted with the claim that this is all fiction. They've dismissed any kind of claims that extraterrestrials were recovered. They've classified the events as routine exercises. They said that the creature was likely to
routine exercise, Bailey. That's us right from Nashville. That's us good talk to everybody else. We were just doing exercises. We were just out in our country where we should be our own land doing this. These are people actually believe that. I mean, yeah, we do stuff to NATO. You can say, oh, we do stuff to NATO. We do stuff to other countries, stuff like that. We do. But, no, this is a lot different. Like, people have to ask, what are we doing in Brazil? You know, back in the 90s, stuff like that. You know. I mean, people say, you know, they can make up stuff, drugs, stuff like that, Colombia, etc. and everything. Let me see here. I'm going on now. What is this? Let's see. Brazil nuts. No, that's right. I don't know. See, Brazil nuts. Brazil global now. That's right behind it, isn't it? Yeah, let's take a look. Is that right by this way line? This is. That's not. Yeah, it is on this. This is 90s. Yeah. There's Colombia, yeah, I could say that. Drugs, yeah. So yeah, I could say that. Could say that. So, wow. We do have an interest there, definitely. And Ronald Reagan. I remember his supplying stuff. So yeah, we could have. Alright. I remember Ronald Reagan was giving the Colombian military Mustangs. Was it Mustangs? World War II aircraft. And stuff. Back in the 80s. And everything under George Bush Sr. also did some stuff as well. But, so yeah, they could say, yeah, I could say as far as the drugs, the war on drugs, they could say that.
Homeless man, Modino, that the military vehicles were for standard maintenance, not retrievals. They said that the, this is my favourite one, the hospital aliens were debunked as a dwarf couple. Seeking medical care.
Yeah, I heard that one too. I know.
They also said there was no evidence supporting alien bacteria causing Chirate's death, which
that's you're gonna hear directly from the people that did the autopsy and studied the samples from the founder of the company that did the autopsy. Directly, Dr. Giannini, and he said the same thing.
I don't need them to convince me. I already know this stuff is real. I've seen this stuff decades ago myself. I've seen reports myself. I don't know how I got out the stuff I did. This stuff, how I got stuff before. When the internet was nice and wild and other people wanted to put stuff out, the truth out. And fuck the government. Fuck the government. They have the right to keep this stuff a secret. They don't. So it's like, that's probably, sources, stuff that I've had. It's better if I don't.
I don't care. He's older now, and he's like This is what I saw, and I can't explain it, and I've never seen anything like it before, and I've never seen anything like it since.
God bless these people for having.
And
the
there are
courage
other
to
things.
speak.
There are other things. Like we're contacting the lead general, who's now retired, and we are actually engaging with this general right now. And this
that was my next question. There's obviously been political change in 30 years. Brazil has become a slightly more progressive society. The government's a bit more open-minded. What is there any likelihood of military officials opening up and telling more about what they know?
There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. There are members of I think it's Parliament, with senators that are reaching out directly and indirectly for possibly hearings in Brazil. There are efforts going on internally about meetings in the United States. There are doctors that are deciding, contemplating joining Italo, coming forward. I had meetings just recently with the whole inner circle of those doctors and the people that run those hospitals. So this is, in my opinion, I think this is the beginning of the beginning. So I could I be wrong? I could be wrong, but I don't think so. There's a movement happening unlike anything I've ever seen.
And it's not just on Virginia. I think people have realised that to some degree Congress isn't going to take the initiative. It has to come from people who've had direct knowledge and experience, which is... Actually, this is probably a good time to promote it, and we'll do it at the end, James. If there are people, military personnel who were part of the retrieval operation, who want to speak to you...
Well, this is the thing, is that they need to talk about all these other people, I think. It's like the American side. I'm not talking about just the Brazilian, but the American side as well. Because we were involved in that. So, and Reagan, I know that he had the STI Star Wars thing, and part of that was to combat UFOs, ETs, and HI. Because Reagan supposedly had his own UFO experience and stuff like that. And he was debriefed on UFOs and stuff like that and everything. So, my dad supposedly worked on some STI stuff as well, so, which is Star Wars.
Confidentially and exchange information. How can they get information to you?
That's great. That's a great question. Thank you so much. I have a Proton email, and I'll give it to you right now. It is momentofcontact@proton.me. Momentofcontact@proton.me, and we'll be very mindful of any national security issues or secrecy or whatever the request is.
Clearly there are people who are operating under TS-SCI, top secret compartmented clearances, who are forbidden from speaking about this. And this is something that when you went to Washington, you've also, in this Moment of Contact film, you've also gone to Washington, D.C. and covered the congressional hearings where multiple witnesses have given evidence of what they know, what they saw. One of them is Dr. Eric Davis. He's a friend of both of us. He's an astrophysicist. He's been heavily involved in investigating paranormal UAP phenomena for many decades. He worked with Robert Bigelow at the National Institute of Discovery Science. He was part of the BASS investigations, the federal government-funded investigations into the subject. This is what he told you in this exclusive interview.
Where's the proof? We have alien spaceships in our possession. We have bodies. Where and why can't I get the specifics to verify those claims?
If the President of the United States issued an executive order that
you could be killed,
absolves me of all of my TS-SCI NDAs. NDAs are non-disclosure agreements. Those are the agreements we have to sign for every compartment in our SCI clearances. So if the president waives or absolves my obligation to those NDAs, and I get subpoenaed by Congress, somebody on Capitol Hill, some committee, either in the Senate or the House or the both, to reveal everything I know that I learned from my investigations, both unclassified and classified, into the legacy UAP, crash retrieval, and hardware reverse engineering and NHI programs, I would do so. If I could be waived from that or absolved in some fashion.
This is what people don't understand, is that, like my father told me, anybody that has top secret clearance, you talk, that's 25 years for just one charge of one particular thing you're talking about that's classified. You're talking about another item that's another 25 years. Yeah, so just one charge can be 25 years to life. You put on the out charges, that's another 25, so how many hundreds of years do you want to spend in prison? Federal prison. And some people have said that federal prison is worse than mainline prison, state prison, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, he wants to talk. I get pissed off about people talking anyway. Well, do you want to be in federal prison or worry about getting killed? President Trump is for keeping a lot of stuff secret now. He wants to make money off of this. That piece of shit. Jesus Christ. A lot of people, including her, hoping he'd open the doors, and he did the exact opposite, much like the other presidents have done. And except for Trump, he's a bit smarter and more evil, methodical, where he wants to make money off it. And have contractors, all these other people make money off it, put stocks into these companies doing reverse engineering. And it's about the minerals. I keep on saying the minerals for a reason. He wants to get these minerals from other countries, because that can help with propulsion, stuff like that, powering these reverse engineered vehicles and stuff like that. They help with the propulsion. And everything. So this is the reason why you want minerals in Ukraine, China wants minerals here in these other countries and everything, and Trump's just going to be a bastard like the rest of them. But he's a lot more smarter, methodical, and diabolical, and the reasons than the other presidents are.
Presidential order. And if Congress subpoenas me, yes, I would go and tell them everything I know.
Correction. You can say only when he's allowed to say to Congress. You can say anything Congress got closed doors. Like I said, these guys should be hanged for keeping this stuff a secret, not him. Not that guy. I'm talking about the gatekeepers, the ones that are, in command, and stuff like that, and everything. Because there's no reason to have a secret. National security is just BS.
Dr. Eric Davis makes it very clear there, James, that he knows stuff. He, as you know, investigated the claims that there was this legacy UAP, NHI, non-human intelligence craft retrieval program.
Don't forget they're now calling it drones. They call it something, they call it UFOs, they call it UAP, then they call it something else, another acronym. Now they're saying they're calling it UFOs and UAP drones. Smart up to that. You hear drones? Don't think they're always drones. That's what the government people, that's what they want you to think.
And he became aware, he's testified before, that there has been this ongoing reverse engineering program. What he's saying, though, is very significant, because he's essentially saying, if the president, if Donald Trump was merely to say, overnight, I can waive those secrecy orders, I can waive those NDAs. He, Dr. Eric Davis, and presumably many other witnesses could come forward. So, how significant
is the thing? Trump is replaceable. If they want to kill a president, they can kill a president. He's just there for looks. He's just there as a figure piece. And stuff like that, just like any other president is. You know, around the president been shot at. And other assassinated for multitudes of reasons. And everything, but I'm telling you right now, one thing that Trump has done is that he's replaced a lot of his national security people in office. He's changed a lot of military. And in order, if you ever did want to declassify UFOs, you have to get rid of all the people on the National Security Council. You have to replace all of them, kick them the hell out, or whatever. Or if some religion's gone down or whatever, have accidents happen to them to replace them. Just like other presidents have done, or other people have done. That's how you go about getting declassification done. You have to replace the whole regime. You have to, all these departments and departments and everything else. Because if you don't get rid of them, they can just have you dead.
Is Eric Davis's comment.
Well, it's extremely significant. And, I asked them those specific questions because I feel the frustration among the community, among people that have seen, for instance, Dave Grush back in 2023 making these extraordinary claims and not really providing publicly the extraordinary evidence needed to verify those claims. So I'm constantly thinking as a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, how to address those issues. Okay, so you've got someone with all these clearances and you signed NDAs.
Right.
How do we circumvent that? So I've been asking a lot of people like Eric Davis, would you be willing?
The bottom line is, like you say, and I know this personally because I've been around this stuff, 25 years to life. If you say something, mom's the word, as they say. Life's threatened and everything else. You say something, make sure you're not the one being heard. Might as well just leak the stuff out. But anyways, that's it. Prison time. Or worse. So
provided under the right circumstances, we make a plea to President Trump, whoever the president is, the president of the United States, wave the magic wand, provide immunity, which they can do immediately. Would you testify under oath to a bipartisan group of lawmakers and give the details needed to verify the claims? And they're all saying yes. So let's do it. And if there's nothing to it, then hey, you got nothing to hide.
And I can tell you, James, I know multiple people who would fall over themselves to come forward like that. They're patriots, so they're never going to breach their secrecy oath unless they're authorised to do so. Some of them have actually given evidence in confidence to the Senate Select Committee.
I doubt like a lot of other old school guys, OGs, stuff like that. They do the smallest thing. Even though the chemicals and stuff that he was around to keep some stuff secret and other things. He kept that to his death. And me, I would have blurted out and said, fuck you, come after him, I'll kill you. I would have said that to the government. And I said, I just say something whether motherfuckers like it or not. Go fuck yourselves. And what that material did to him, he had the shakes. My father had the shakes. And I just feel like killing sons of bitches a long time. I hate them. I have nothing but hate for what they've done to people. My people, stuff like that. Abusing, the secrecy, know, and everything, and say it's all national security bullshit. Now people have died from exposure, whether it be from extraterrestrial vehicles or other things that's classified. And it's a disguise to keep criminal behavior under wraps. That's what it's all about. All the criminal activity. It's keep that secret. And this is why I get so pissed off, because I know a lot of stuff you guys don't. I've seen people personally affected by this. I've seen a lot of things I can tell people's pain and history and stuff like that. It's the
Committee for Intelligence privately in a skiff, but they really want the public to hear their evidence. And at the moment, we seem a bit hamstrung because Congress isn't passing the disclosure laws that would allow the protection of these whistleblowers, to allow particularly contractors, government contractors, not military employees, but government contractors, to feel safe about coming forward.
You imagine it's like, okay, there's nothing to see here. Fair enough. Pass the act. Pass the bill. The disclosure, UAP Disclosure Act. Like, pass it. I mean, why?
So do you think, James, from your knowledge of what's going on, do you think President Trump's been got at on this issue, or do you think, as J.D. Vance, the Vice President, indicated just very recently in an interview with Miranda Devine, I think her Pod Force One, he admitted that he's actually interested in the subject matter, but that they've been distracted by so many other issues, but they're going to...
So I'm only speaking from personal experience. I've interviewed Carter and Ford and indirectly President Clinton, and they all basically said that they made inquiries into the UAP or UFO phenomenon and were not happy with the answers they were getting. So it's extraordinary to think that the president, the commander-in-chief of the United States, could get an intelligence community to basically steer him away from, any information. However, I think we're living in different times now. I think there are enough people talking about it. We've had 4 congressional hearings in the last several years. The word is out. The implications, global implications, are so profound that I think creating the right circumstance and really making a plea to the president, I think he just might do it. So I'm optimistic.
I'm not so optimistic, because he has staked this for people make money off of this. Trump is about making money. That's what he is. He's about money. These are people suffering. It's about how kind of like, millionaires, people's pockets more money. It's almighty dollar. That's things that registers in mind. A lot of times, or how can this make me look good? And a lot of these treaties as well. So how can this make me look good if I fix things, there's a ceasefire, I can make myself look good as well. I hate to think that is all evil or stuff like that, but it's just I get that from everything that he's doing. I go by how he acts, not what I think, but how he acts. And that's how I feel about it. This with every president. They're all sociopaths and psychopathic in some way. But I believe that it's us, the people, that have to force this out. And me, I got stuff on video, I got UFOs on video. And I think I've had some UFOs come to me. I've had UFOs come to me. And I probably shouldn't say this, I should. I call myself a dumbass idiot. For saying this, because I don't want the stupid ass government. I don't want these motherfuckers coming over here and say piss off, bitch. I don't like you guys. I don't want you guys trying to download these aircraft or this craft here. I said I want peace and quiet. I want people that don't have an agenda, to view this stuff with me, UFOs, and for us to broaden our abilities, telepathy, psychic abilities. Us, the people, need to be in charge of that, not some stupid government. And that's what they want. They're very psychopathic with how they want us to keep us jailed and in prison and stuff like that. And not be able to have these abilities, not to know the truth, that there's something beyond this reality, other dimensions, and everything, other planets, other worlds, other galaxies that we can go to. And I believe that falls more upon us to force this out. That's what I think. I hope I might be wrong, but hopefully I am. But that's the way I see it right now.
Well, so am I. I mean, I must confess, I do think it's time for the public to actually see what these witnesses all know. And there are witnesses who want to come forward with direct evidence. I mean, I've actually spoken to people who've touched these craft, James. That's why I'm very sure that the Legacy program is a reality. And what's stopping them is these top secret SCI clearances that require them to keep it confidential, even to lie about it if they're asked about it publicly. So I think the president really is, the ball is now in his court.
That's their video. You got to see their video that's digging a board and stuff like that. I can see the difference right there. This is fine. It's just
open about it.
It's one of the reasons why I put the quote from Eric Davis at the end of the movie. I want the world to see, like, these people are willing to come forward, wave the magic wand, provide immunity, and we will give the details needed to verify these claims. You can't say no to that. Like, if there's nothing to hide, give them immunity. Let them talk.
So, James,
there's obviously I just believe it takes I'll be right back. Or actually about 4, 5. You take some stuff real quick. Take a leak. God.
All right. Okay.
Your film's coming out. When will your film be coming out?
Yes.
Later this year. We don't have an exact date, but we will soon. Later this year.
But essentially, the 30th anniversary of the Virginia incident is in January next year, 2026.
Yes, the film will come out just before that.
Let's take a look at your trailer, which we're now going to show exclusively here on Reality Check.
Have you
Shout out to him. They're on new station services credit. It's so James Fox here. I need to put this out because they deserve honor, glory for this day like that. So.
Exposed to undeniable confirmation of a non-human intelligence craft.
There is something out there, and we should know as the people what it is.
Do you believe that the federal government is knowingly concealing evidence about UAPs from the public?
100%.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
Non-human, exotic origin, vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
For the first time in history, the names of alleged companies and gatekeepers analyzing recovered alien technology are being exposed.
Are any of you willing to name specific individuals?
Dr. James Ryder at Lockheed, Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
For decades, we've heard allegations of the retrieval of objects of alien origin.
In 1933, some disc-shaped object crashed.
It was not anything from this earth.
A UFO crashed in Kingman.
Didn't drop out of the sky. It had to come in on an angle.
The feeling I had during the encounter was like no type of aircraft I've ever seen before.
I saw the evidence. It's a crash retrieval, there's a craft, and there's alien bodies.
But one of the most well-documented UFO crash retrieval cases involving live aliens took place in Varginha, Brazil.
There's a crashed vehicle.
2 seres extraterrestres foram capturados, depois, posteriormente, foram levados para o hospital.
Meu nome é Carlos de Souza.
Meu nome é Cátia Xavier. Meu nome é Liliane Silva. Meu nome é Valquíria Silva. Em 1996, eu vi uma criatura estranha.
Fui até o local quando o general de brigada falou para mim que era assunto de segurança nacional. Morre por aí, acabou.
Deu pra ver nitidamente. Era um charuto no ar.
O negócio da agenda, eu nem quis tocar, porque eu tinha um sino aqui na barra. Levaram pra Campinas e Campinas levaram para os Estados Unidos.
Now, for the first time in history,
nunca vi caso assim.
We have the most compelling first-hand testimony.
Todo mundo surpreso. Sim, qualquer um que sofrer uma punição muito severa.
Communication with a live alien in captivity.
Os olhos eram como se fosse uma gota de água.
How much time did he spend with the alien in the room?
3, 4 minutos.
Wow.
So that's supposed to contact James Fox, give him a shout out as well. This is News Nation, also copyrighted. Please check it out. Let's see, I want to go back to this still. Contact James Fox, look him up. Yeah. What were my files? I had so much stuff on this, and other people didn't know about, but I did. I mean, James knew stuff about it. I did already. I knew about this like decades before. This stuff, I see, UFO craft, stuff like that. Different saucer shapes, saucer dimensions, and everything else. They have actual reports, stuff like that, big reports. I had stuff like that. I don't know how I had it. It's a good thing I probably don't know, but I did. I don't know. I mean, there are other incidents that happen as well. So I need to which is which. So get this off screen. That's that. I want to see something about this. I'm supposed to be working out. In fatter. Let's see. Let's see here. I just want to do this quick sport 24. Alright. Well, that's the thing. Don't bother with the fucking government. Politicians are criminals too. The people, that's what matters. You don't need some stupid ass lie detector. Some people know how to get around that lie detectors and lie detector stuff. They have. Never trust the government. Never. Don't trust your politicians.
Guest is my first phone call when mysteries like this pop up. Ben Hansen is the host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus and a longtime friend of the show. Okay, Ben, the video that we were just looking at, my first thought was, that's got to be divers, right? It's got to be divers with those neon lights. And then I thought, no, not at night without a dive boat. That's really dangerous. What did you make of it when you saw this?
Exactly that. I mean, I'm a master diver. There's nobody around there with a dive boat, with a dive flag, anything like that. I like to dive at night. Some people go lobster diving. It is still possible. This particular one, we haven't had time even to get out there to go check this out in the field. But you start looking at, the number of sightings that people are having in these locations and putting it all together, it just doesn't make sense that so many people, are unable to, I don't know. The UFO thing has been, always people focusing in the sky, right?
I want to jump down and see those things, but I know you get radiation poisoning, you get cancer. But I want to just, I don't know, tell you just grab orbs or something. But the thing is, they probably look a lot different to the human eye versus what's being recorded. Be totally different, could be a different color too. What we see and what the camera gets could be totally different. I know from personal experience, so. It doesn't always have true to life, so this looks like a baby, though. It looks like it's gorgeous color. It's like a crazy sardine, not sardine, but what is that? That ice cream color, lemon ice cream. It has mixed color and everything. Basically want to take control of it.
And so it's kind of like now that we're shifting to USOs, a lot of people are wondering if this is a new phenomenon or not, and it really is not. It's the submerged objects have been since the beginning. When we started reporting, remember we had these pilots who were seeing them in the water off of Catalina. And
let me tell you, Top Destination Truth, which people should go to on HBO Max and go to Discovery, Top Destination Truth, it's something like Destination Paranormal, something like that. And they went to Catalina And there are objects that they were filming coming in and out of the water, and they had a camera go underwater, and the UFO knocked it. Underwater. And there's UFOs going out Catalina all the time. It's a hot spot. And there are places all around the world. And that's because we have underwater bases. Some of us work with them. Some defense contractors, military, whatever, work with them. And some is just theirs. So
air traffic controllers were telling us that pilots were witnessing this glow, sometimes the size of a city. You know, and so here you have this Fort Lauderdale case. It's a lot smaller, but you know, it's really hard to say whether we're looking at a natural phenomena. These definitely not like phosphorescent algae. It's nothing like that, and it definitely doesn't explain how people are seeing the objects come up out of the water and zip out, and these huge like flaps have been going on for decades.
And then ones that dive back into the water and don't even make a splash, which is also, it just gives the, you know.
I mean, there are tales where seafars, you know, stuff like that. Talk about how strange tales, stuff like that. Not craft exactly, but, you know, hundreds of years, I should say not thousands, but hundreds of years of people seeing stuff, objects, stuff, seeing weird stuff.
Hair on my neck, stand on end. Again, I just want to go back to these pictures. Not divers, but is it possible? Well, first of all, have we seen any, plausible explanations surfacing? Like, well, this could be the military testing out new technology. Yeah. This could be all sorts of stuff that we're not supposed to be seeing. Could be the enemy.
Well, if you're not supposed to see it, then why are they letting you see it? They should do that around their base. And we do have bases around out the ocean too.
So I doubt the enemy wants to be seen like this. But any plausible stuff that you've seen surface?
In this particular case, we really haven't had a chance, no pun intended, to dive into it yet. But this is just an example, like I said, of something that is much bigger, where I've had numerous cases where people are telling us have been out in the boat, they've been far away from shore, which...
So HBO Max has Discovery Networks, has all this stuff together, including Discovery stuff. So if people get on there, they can access this stuff, this paranormal stuff.
Again, would be much more difficult to be just divers. And they've passed over areas about the size of a football field. And it's like somebody turns on a switch and the whole thing just lights up underneath them. Right. And then you mentioned the fact, too, that some of them, like we have the USS Omaha case caught on thermal camera, where we have this transmedium travel where they go into the water, don't seem to disturb it, come up out of the water, sometimes in broad daylight. Right, so something is traveling back and forth. You remember Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who's been on the show before. He testified in front of Congress about a Navy program that they're calling the fast movers. Right, and the fast movers, they detect and track these objects that travel faster than any torpedo should or could, perhaps over 100 miles an hour. Right, and so you've got the fast ones, you have ones that kind of just linger there. Huge, kind of like the size of a city. These guys, I think, were really afraid because they didn't know, should we actually drive over it? What's going to happen if we do? Is it going to take us down, suck us in?
Thank you for watching.
Well, looks like that's it. Go down to what do you do? I need to try just to work it out though. So it's supposed to be the floor of this place is oil. That's not going to happen. Halos, take care of some people chat. Not much you do to lie most people chat. Anyways,